I've been having fun these past few videos making fun of Republicans and laughing at Elon Musk's expense, but we really should, tip our hats to the people who keep them in power. The liberals. You see, without liberals constantly throwing money at stopping leftist movements from taking a foothold in politics, we wouldn't have Republicans. So in the words of George Carlin, this next material, like most good ideas, is simple. It's just a list of people who ought to be killed.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and a thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Hey now, hey now, hey now.
I gotta be the one to say it. I fucking hate Midas Touch. And it's not for their political takes or for their rage bait or for anything like that. I hate how Midas Touch Network and Rebel HQ and all of these liberal news networks have just suddenly fucking ruined the Google algorithm. And yeah, I said Google algorithm and not YouTube algorithm because today, if I want to find the origin of a piece of news, I have to scroll past thousands of Midas Touch Network videos that are completely irrelevant to the topic that I am trying to research. On top of that, Midas Touch Network in particular has two very different styles of content that they upload frequently. They upload content that they are a factual expert in the topic of, in which they can provide professional insight into the topics they cover, such as their legal show. They also cover a lot of opinion pieces, and it's hard to distinguish when they're trying to speak as an expert or when they're just merely trying to speak from their opinion, which on its own wouldn't be a problem if it weren't for the fact that at the frequency they're posting and the fact that a lot of times they just give their first unfiltered reactions to things and they bury all news sources under their content by gamifying the algorithm. It creates this annoying problem of being unable to find the origin of any of these news stories because they are completely overshadowing everything else. I mean, not to be a cliche or whatever, but this doesn't even feel like YouTube anymore with all of these corporate channels.
America is the only country that does transgender policy the way we do now.
Convince them that she's not part of what they suspect she might be, sort of a stealth version of the worst excesses of the left.
Scientific American,
Yeah.
less than a year ago. Inequity between male and female athletes is a result not of inherent biological differences between the sexes, but of biases in how they are treated in sports. That's nuts. And it sure ain't scientific, and it's in Scientific American. And that's why the Democrats lost the election.
If you combined Vector from Despicable Me, the Thalas Siren from Star Wars, and Ian Malcolm, you'd just get Bill Maher. For someone who claims to reject all political labels, Bill Maher sure is the standard corporate liberal, in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, Bill Maher is not the only one of these late-night hosts that I fucking despise. But Bill Maher embodies the best of what I hate about these people, which is the mildly educated arrogance to challenge academic authorities on topics that these people are not experts in, which this can only come from the experience of growing up as a white cis male. I'd sooner trust the scientific hypothesis of the ruin hunters from All Tomorrows than trust you. I'm just tired of seeing trans rights debates being ran between two people who neither of which are experts in the field of endocrinology or anything relevant even to the whole topic of debate. Like, I know Neil deGrasse Tyson is in the top of his field, but I don't know what astrophysics has to do with, biology and how the human body reacts to hormones. I mean, it's this level of cluelessness that makes me think that Bill Maher probably should shut his fucking mouth when it comes to these topics. And I feel a similar way to most of these late night commentary shows because they all try to act like some kind of academic authority on a subject that these people are not experts in. The only exception I have to this is John Oliver's show because Last Week Tonight's researchers actually do a really good job.
The president is very, very straightforward and simple. He knows there are two basic steps here. One step is you must take back the streets. And you take back the streets by more cops, more prisons, more physical protection for the people.
This is an excerpt from Joe Biden's speech on the 1994 crime bill. And in this speech, there is one pivotal line that, in my opinion, encapsulates exactly why I hate liberals, especially in the modern era where they're trying to brand themselves as the progressive party.
And the consensus is as follows, and I will cease when I finish this statement. The consensus is A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street. That's number one.
With all the subtlety of a guy with a thin blue line sticker taped to the back of his truck, Biden said with his whole chest that he doesn't care about stopping the causes of crime, he just wants to punish people who are criminals. Until you yourself have gone through the criminal justice system, I don't quite care what your opinion is on cops and prisons, not gonna lie. Maybe if Biden gave more of a shit about the root causes of crimes, his only remaining son wouldn't have become a drug addict. The divine comedy in all of this is that Joe Biden's callousness towards criminals has ended up with, after his wife, daughter, and eldest son dying, his only remaining child left ending up a washed out drug addict. And in the end, he pardons his son, crossing every line in the sand that he himself drew. Because you see, these Republicans and Democrats, these conservatives and liberals, they're all exactly the same deep down. They'll be strict on crime towards all of us, but when it comes to the elites, they'll give every single mental gymnastics possible to justify to themselves why it's okay to protect their friends and family for actions that they would demonize us for. And these hypocritical moral grandstands and this constant need to reinvent themselves has left the liberal movement with a faceless identity. Inconsistency has become the only consistent trait of liberalism. This is especially true, but not limited to, drug crimes. Because if you thought Crime Bill Biden was a hypocrite for pardoning Hunter, Joe's successor Kamala Harris wasn't that much better. I'm going to be playing a short clip from a podcast interview Kamala Harris done for her presidential campaign for 2024, and I'm going to contrast that with the things she was saying in 2014 when she was campaigning to become California's Attorney General.
What's the facts of that situation?
It's just simply not true. And what public defenders who are around those days will tell you, I was the most progressive prosecutor in California on marijuana cases.
The Republican candidate for Attorney General wants to tax and regulate the use of marijuana for recreational purposes.
Colorado is already beginning to prove to everybody that there is sufficient taxable base.
Gold wants to use the millions of dollars projected from marijuana sales for drug and alcohol counseling and for education.
In the face of grave danger.
We asked California's current top cop, Kamala Harris, for her position on this controversial issue. Your opponent, Ron Gold, has said that he is for the legalization of marijuana recreationally. Your thoughts on that?
That he is entitled to his opinion.
And would not send people to jail for simple possession of weed.
So here's what we did. We created an initiative called Back on Track. And essentially, what that involved was focusing on the 18 through 24-year-old, first-time, low-level, nonviolent drug sales offender.
And as vice president, have been a champion for bringing marijuana down on the schedule. So instead of it being ranked up there with heroin, we bring it down. And my pledge is, as president, I will work on decriminalizing.
I don't know about you all personally, but I myself am ready to just blow past the decriminalizing phase and just make it legal. This has been a debate topic since I was in intermediate school. I went through middle school, high school, the soul-searching year I took to find myself, college, and it's still something we're just considering to decriminalize. I mean, I think the benefits of taxing weed shops in order to raise education standards in your state has been well and truly proven multiple times over. This is the exact inaction and do-nothing government she was promoting 10 years ago when she was running to be Attorney General. In that audio clip where I showed that the Republican candidate for Attorney General was more pro-drugs than Kamala Harris was, despite her claiming to be the most progressive marijuana enthusiast ever, she was also asked her stance on the death penalty, where she said, "I personally don't agree with it, but I'll follow the law." It's this attitude of, if it doesn't disrupt the status quo, then I don't care. But if it does disrupt the status quo, I'll shut it down because I like the status quo, because I benefit from the status fucking quo. There's a reason Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris both lost to the worst guy on the planet, and it has nothing to do with being women. 2016 was 9 years ago. Try to remember a single policy that Hillary Clinton ran on. Fucking 2024 was just last year. Try to think of a single campaign promise that Kamala Harris ran on. I mean, Kamala Harris had a more comprehensive plan than Donald Trump does, but that doesn't quite matter when the only thing you're campaigning on is not being Donald Trump. Because that's not a vote for your party, you understand? There's 3 options. I could vote Republican, I could vote Democrat, or I could just not fucking vote. Seeing as I don't want to vote Republicans, and Democrats are running on the campaign promise of putting Republicans in their administration, I don't really want to vote. You can't tell me you're better than the other guys because you're literally dancing on stage with the other guys. I'm not the only progressive that feels this way. Many people feel exactly the same way I do, but liberals want to plug their ears and not hear about it. It's far more convenient for them to believe that the issue is that they're too liberal now and they have to become a little bit more like the Republicans. You ran the queen of the California pigs, Kamala Harris, as your candidate, and you made it very clear you were not going to federally support and protect the LGBT, and now you're somehow shocked that the majority of black men and LGBT folk just sat out this election? You gave us no reason to vote for you, and these all-day content machines, slop farms like Midas Touch tried their best to glaze you and demented Joe Biden, and the thing is, you can't polish a stick in the mud. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I like conservatives, I'm just saying I hate liberals so fucking much. And with all that being said, my name's Undead. That's all I got.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play.